Hello, everybody. Can you all hear me? Yeah? Good. Good. How are you feeling today? Great. Yeah, it's a bit hard for me to see the screen because right behind my screen is nature, the trees, the forest, and the snow. But it's a sunny day and we have lots of snow. So it's this bright, bright, bright energy coming in. And I'm not complaining about it. I'm relishing in the beauty of it. I have gratitude for this place that I live. Total gratitude. I was talking earlier with Gabriel, our translator here, and we ended up talking about complaining, complaining about things in life, not just complaining about people. And what came through for me was the fact that we actually all complain and we don't realize we're complaining about things. So I don't want to, that wasn't my subject for today, but maybe next class we're going to talk about that and how we can get out of complaining, because when we get out of that, we have no choice but to step into gratitude. You see? Because if you're not in one, you're going to be in the other. You either love it or you complain about it, you know? And even though we don't mean to complain. So we're going to get into that because what our whole idea, our intent should be to live what we call a chi life. And you'll understand this more as we go through it, where you're actually living the energy of the chi field. You're living the energy of the universe, of the pureness of that energy. And you're not into complaining, you're not into criticizing, you're not into not just criticizing others, criticizing yourself, which is another thing we need to get into because that has to do with our self-worth. But you get into that space where you're connected with the quantum field, you're connected with the chi field. Basically the same thing, but even more pure. And when you connect and live your life that way, that's when things start happening. That's when you get into the synchronicity of the universe. You get into what we call the flow of everything. And when we're in the flow, that's when the magic happens. I downloaded some more information early this morning when I was having my hot bath and talking with my guides about how we're affected by our childhood. And we all know that, where certain things happen in our childhood and then it creates certain belief systems. But they talked about it's not necessarily what happened in your childhood. Because when you're born, you carry the DNA of your ancestors, your parents, and even before that. I don't want to get too much into that now, but just be aware of that. It's not always your doing. you're carrying an energy from others, and you're carrying their baggage that they never resolved. So we do have a responsibility there. And then also, if you actually believe in and understand that you've had past lives, there's another type of DNA coming in there, being affected by that in whatever good or bad ways you interpret that, you know? And all these things boil down to the fact of your mind, how it interprets a situation, and what you decide there. Because at one point, you're at a crossroads. Do you go this way or do you go that way? Do you stay in a negative state of consciousness or a very positive state of consciousness? Do you stay in what I talked about a bit last week about primal thinking, which has to do with sadness and everything's going wrong, and you know, all the negative ways of being? Or are you going to shift to the power center way, which basically boils down to happiness, having a happy life? You know, you can have a life where you have millions of dollars, but you're always sad, therefore you're always sick. They go hand in hand, by the way, sadness and sickness. Or if you're living comfortably, but you don't have millions of dollars, and you're happy, and you're healthy. So who's actually the richer one there? You know, think of that. And it's all a mindset. Because the person that has less money can always be saying, oh, gee, I wish I had more money. Then they're not in the happiness state. They're in the primitive primal state of being, of survival. And so you ask yourself, do you want to be in survival mode, or do you want to be in master mode, power mode? Gabriel is putting together advertising to get people aware of my albums, the CDs that I've created, to get more people aware of it, because they are powerful. They're extremely powerful. And that's why we also use music in this. When you have a combination of consciousness, in other words, the way you're thinking, and the consciousness of the universe, you tap into that consciousness. And music, the right music, and do that with Qigong, then you're immensely powerful. Those tools are immensely powerful, all three of them. Of course, the most powerful one being consciousness, okay? Because you can do all the Qigong you want in the world, but if you keep thinking, oh, I'm not going to get better, guess what? The prophecy will come true. Yeah. So I'm going to talk to you about the very first album I put out there. Now, this is the CD version. And the original cassette sort of had that cover, but it was different. It was called Crystal Silence. It wasn't even called Crystal Silence 1, because this one is Crystal Silence 1. And why did it not have that 1 after it? Because it was my first album. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how it was going to explode in this universe. So it was just Crystal Silence. And then with the immense success of that, I realized, oh, I can do a Crystal Silence 2, I can do a Crystal Silence 3. But even, it has a subtitle, The Silence Within. The original subtitle was not that. The original subtitle was The Ultimate Relaxation. So my idea, my intent, and this intent is important because it gives the message to the universe what you need, what you want, and then you start drawing it into you. So my very first intent in writing that music was to write music that would help people relax completely. But my real intent was to help people, you see? And at that point, I wasn't aware of the fact to get total relaxation, you end up having that silence within, that inner peace. So once I redid it and created it on a CD, I decided to have a different subtitle because it was doing so much more. Because I had that pure intent to help people, what I was given as music, the music that comes in, where that creativity comes from, I was given much more than just music that would help you to relax. You know, because to really profoundly get connected, you need to find that inner peace. That's what the silence within is. So I can tell you, this wasn't the first amazing story I heard after I wrote my first album, but it sure was more powerful than anything I'd heard just before that. There was a lady in Ottawa, Canada, the capital of Canada, that I met. I was at an event with my employees and we were selling cassettes. I don't think we even had CDs then. It was a health show. So we were selling this music that would make people healthy. And a lady came up to me and she looked at my photo there and she looked at me and she saw my name on the photo and she says, "Oh, I've been waiting for so long to meet you. I have to tell you my story." So apparently she had throat cancer, and she had gone through all the treatments, you know, the radiation, the chemotherapy, everything they did, and it didn't work. And finally, the doctors told her, you know, maybe not in those words, but that she needed to just go home and relax and die. You know, she was in pain, a lot of pain. And she did something that she'd never done before in her life. She went into a music store and they had a box there that said cassettes on special. So there was a special sale on cassettes. She was divinely guided, obviously. She puts her hand in the box and there's nothing to choose. There's only one cassette in there. The cassette version of this Crystal Silence. And she buys the cassette, takes it home, puts it in her little cassette player next to her bed. And she was bedridden. She couldn't eat, she couldn't drink, she couldn't read, she couldn't do anything. She couldn't even watch TV. She was just so much pain. So she didn't turn it on though. But in the middle of the night, she was in such excruciating pain. She asked for help, just out into the universe, I guess. And her hand went up in the complete darkness of the room and somehow pushed the on button on the cassette player. And those old cassette players, the cassette had two sides, side A, side B. And what they would do was play side E, side B, side A, side B. And this would go on, it could go on forever. For her, it went on for a month and a half, non-stop. At the end of a month and a half, she felt completely healed. But she could not go back to the hospital there. She was afraid to go back there because they had told her she was going to die. So she got on an airplane and went all the way to Australia, which is halfway around the world, because her brother was a medical doctor in Australia. So she went there and he organized for her to have all the tests to see where this cancer was. And she was not even in remission. They couldn't find anything. In other words, she was healed completely. There was no more cancer. The only thing that the effect from the cancer was that her salivary glands, that keep your mouth moist, were not working properly. So she just had to drink more water than most people. And actually, when she came back to Ottawa, then she had the confidence to go to the hospital and tell them, nanny, boo. No, she didn't do that, but she, told them that she doesn't feel she has it anymore. And they actually, I was surprised, but they invited me to the hospital to give a lecture to the cancer patients and to the doctors, which was kind of fun, Yeah. So what was she using to be completely healed? She was using at least two of the three parts that we teach in this class of sound, energy, and consciousness. She used the sound of the crystal silence, and she used consciousness. I don't think she did any Qigong. So, anyways, I wasn't even into Qigong at that time, I don't think. So, the music can be so powerful. But your mind, of what you decide, she decided she was not going to give up. She decided she was going to be healed, and she didn't know how it was going to happen, but she asked the universe for help. And then suddenly, she finds a cassette, the only cassette she could choose. They didn't give her a choice. They sent her to get this one cassette, Crystal Silence. So that was one of the first major stories I heard about the power of what we call the Coxon effect. And when we say the Coxon effect, it's not like I'm trying to say, oh, Robert Coxon. No, the Coxon effect is that magical energy that came through for me to interpret that into music, and what comes through every time that I write something. And the point of being guided, what we're learning in our Qigong is how to go to that music store and find that cassette. I don't mean it that way, but to be guided into finding the answer and the solution to absolutely anything in your life. Most people talk about, you know, wanting to heal their bodies. But sometimes if you heal the blockage, which may not be something in your body that's obvious. But if you learn to raise that consciousness, raise your consciousness up to the level like the woman did. She did it to the level that she knew something was going to happen, something beautiful, that she did not need that in her life. So we're learning to raise our consciousness to the point where we tap into the chi energy of the universe and the information that is behind it that is even more important than the chi. There's no point of bringing all this chi energy into your body if there's no consciousness with it, if there's no wisdom with it, if there's no playbook, if there's no manual to what this energy is supposed to do to change your body and to get rid of all the blockages. And when you get rid of the blockages, what you're doing is changing your, what we call your reference framework. Like a frame, like a picture. Like, this is a picture of how I believe now. Oh, I don't know if I can do that. That's like me saying, well, I'm not sure I can do this symphony, write this symphony. Changing that to, yes, I can write it because that's my mission. If it's my mission, then I can do it, you see? Or whatever you want in your life, For some of you, like what's going on in Ukraine. I know some of you live in that area. It's changing your reference framework, and you will move out of that situation, and you will help others move out of that situation. I know it sounds kind of, oh yeah, sure. No, but it does always work. The thing is to interpret a situation in the powerful way or the primal way. And the more you do the powerful one, the bigger it gets. Now, using Qigong for that woman, that was her path, using the music and her consciousness. But if she had the Qigong too, that might have also even worked even more powerful. Maybe it wouldn't have been a month and a half. Maybe it would have been a month, a day, 5 minutes. Things can change just like that. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. As I said before, the question, how long does it take to create a miracle? As long as you expect it to take. Yeah. So, on Monday, I went to see someone. I had an appointment there for something, and then I looked at her and said, there's something wrong with your throat. There's a challenge there. And she said, how did you know? And I said, well, I just know. So then I did some Qigong work on her. And understanding that this can all disappear, all that challenge. Um, and I've seen people with that, you know. This was a thyroid issue, but I've seen thyroid tumors disappear. I've seen that personally. Yeah, just like that. But how did I know? Well, one of the advantages of studying qigong on a profound level, not just doing the movements, but using consciousness and working on that area of the body called the Shengji Palace. That's the space right in the middle of our head, the pineal gland area. Um, what happens, you start developing what they call in Qigong special abilities. You start developing your intuition. You start being aware on other levels. You start being able to look inside your body and see what's going on. Or you see other people and you just know what's going on. If you're supposed to know what's going on, you know, you can put limits on what you want to see. My partner Lily talks about um, her intuition, and she made a deal with the universe that she would only receive the information, excuse me, only receive the information that would help her to help someone. So, in other words, she's not bombarded with all sorts of things, personal things about that person, but only what is she essentially needs to know. Okay. Um, what I thought we should do today is I'm going to give you a plan of how to do your Qigong practice at this point. And you can, it's so flexible that you can take 5 minutes to do this, or 10 minutes, or 15, 20, half an hour, whatever you want. And it all works. Of course, if you do it longer, it's going to be more powerful. But it's not more powerful to do it all day one day and not do it any other day of the week. It's good to do it each day. And what I hopefully do is do it maybe 3 times a day. So I got up yesterday morning and did some Qigong, and then I worked on my music, and then I went to the spa, which we usually do on Wednesdays during the morning, and I'm there for maybe an hour and a half. And partway through that, I've been going to the little coffee shop and having a smoothie, you know, and that's been great. But yesterday, my body was talking to me and saying, "You don't need to go and have that. It's just kind of sugary, you know. Why don't you do your qigong?" So while I was there, it was a beautiful day with blue skies and lots of snow, very cold. So I, instead of the time I would sit in the coffee shop and sip this amazing smoothie, I went out in the sun and did qigong and neigong, which is another thing we'll talk about some other time. But I did that, you see. So that gave me a second time of doing it. And then I did it later, do it when I go to bed at night, you know. You can do some of these movements while you're lying down. So how many of you would like to know what would help? to have your, something, some order in your practice. Okay. First of all, let me. I love those hearts going up. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I should do that too, but I don't. I can't do that right now. Uh, the basic thing is Le Chi, which is the open and close movement. Okay, and I'm just reviewing it with you. Just get your fingers aligned. If I pull my fingers apart, I can see an energy between those fingers or these fingers or any of them. So that's an important thing to be doing this. And why we're opening up. What does that mean? We're opening, and then in Qigong we say then we're closing. Okay. You're not closing. You're not closing the door. Okay? What it really means is you're doing this with your hands and you're imagining. So we're using your consciousness to imagine that there is a ball of energy between your hands. But you see my elbows, I'm not doing this. My elbows, actually it's my elbows that are doing the movement, the expansion, you see? But when you have your hands like this, it's not just this one ball of energy between your fingers, between your hands. There's also a bigger ball between your arms. But that's not the whole point. The whole point is this needs to be also, besides gathering chi, it needs to be reflection of what's going on inside. So as you're going like this, opening up, that part that you're focusing on inside, let's say it's the lower dantian as an example, that's expanding. It's expanding out into the universe, and you're becoming one with the universe. And then as we draw it in, the so-called closing, we're actually drawing in the energy. So you're becoming smaller and smaller again. You're becoming your regular size. But when you brought it in, you brought back in with you the chi energy of the universe, the original chi energy. And you brought in the information. Yeah. So we expand out into the universe. We almost disappear. And then we bring it in, gather it in. So we're building up our energy within us with this pure creative energy of the universe. Okay? So that's really important. Okay, that's the basic thing. When we do the first level, which we've been working on, we haven't done that for a little while, but when you have your hands out here, you're doing this. See what you're doing? You're doing that expansion. You're sending energy out into the universe, and you're sending yourself into the universe. You're coming back in. When we're doing it here, that's that same thing. It's a variation on Le Chi. Okay? Where we're, either way we do it, we're moving energy. But to keep this practice simple, we're not going to this week work on the first level. What we're doing now is working on a combination of the first level and a very, very high level. Okay, it makes it even more efficient. And I want to explain a couple of other words because sound is important. We have these two words, and they're hun hua, hun hua. And what does that mean? When we bring in this energy into the body, suppose they're working on the heart, okay? Imagine you're gathering all this energy in your heart, and then you say, Hun, Hua. So what that means is it's merging. The energy is merging or mixing into the body, mixing in with your chi that's already there, and it's transforming. Why is it transforming? Because it has the information of what to do for you to be in perfect health, you see? So as we bring it in, then we can say, Hun, Hua. Now, another word. The last one for now, okay? They write this, and I've showed you this before. It's XU, and it's pronounced shu, shu, shu. So what that is doing is, as an example, just close your eyes and focus on the Shenji Palace and the upper Dantian. Okay? And what we want to do, we see it as solid brain and all the other things that are in there, your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your everything. But what we want to do is, with our imagination, actually move into another reality of what that is, because it is pure energy. It is pure chi. And it is in the physical form, and the physical form of chi is the only difference between that and the chi in the universe that you can't see is it's condensed so much that it is solid. You understand that? So what we want to do is turn it back into imagining it as just being pure chi. So it's transparent. So you can see your brain in there, but it's transparent. Okay? And how do we trigger that? How do we get that to happen? By using the word shu or shu. Shu. Just pronounce that with me. Shu. Shu. It's actually, for French people, it's quite easy. Shu, because it's part of the sounds in French. Shu. So you push your lips forward. Shu. Okay? So if your eyes are closed and imagine the energies, you breathe in that energy and then go shoo, shoo. So you imagine it becoming transparent. And another thing to know, when you're using your consciousness, anything you focus your consciousness on, the chi's gonna go there, the chi energy. So you could have your hands here. You have that ball. Now focus on that place between your fingers, between your hands. Then there's immediately chi pulling into there. Same for between your arms. And think of your heart again. Breathe in. Breathe into your heart. Ah. There's chi there now from the universe because you've brought it in, because your mind, whatever goes on in your mind, directs everything. So it's all in that using your mind. That's the most powerful thing. The movements are secondary to the powerful mind. So those are the things I've explained. Now, hopefully we'll get through this, but we're going to do it next time too. This is really important. How do we get to feel the energy? Let's put something on here for a minute. Let me see what I have here. Mhm. I'll find something for us here. Hmm. I got a better idea. I'll play something. Okay. I don't have one there. But movement. You see, using movement, um, but shaking the body. Just give me a second here. This is not attached. Let's put the other camera on if we can, okay? For a moment. There. So, um, you're going to start being aware of the energy that's in your body when you start shaking. So, how do you do the shaking? You bend your knees a little bit. See, like bend down a little bit like that. And then just let your arms loose completely and just start going, shaking like that. So let's do that for a few minutes. Okay. So back to the other camera, please. Um, Actually, studies have been done about actually shaking. And what it helps to do is reset your nervous system. Besides getting you to be aware of the energy. Put your hands like you're doing qigong there. Like you're doing the Le Qi. And just feel the energy now. And imagine that ball of energy between your hands. And you may get to the point, this happens to me all the time, where it gets so powerful, such a buildup of energy there, that you're feeling a resistance as you move your hands in and out. There's a resistance that doesn't want you to go closer because there's so much chi energy in there. Expand your hands out. Now bring them back. And then sort of wiggle them in and out a bit, like that, okay? And you're going to start feeling energy in there. It's almost like you're making a snowball. You know, you pick up this bunch of snow and you're packing it together. Feel that ball of energy in there. Yeah. So, how many people can feel that? Yeah, cool. Okay. So, the first thing we do is shaking the body. And then the next thing we want to do is we can do this sitting down or standing, whatever you want. Just close your eyes and start breathing. And as you breathe, imagine you're breathing into your upper dantian. The Shengji Palace, right in the center of your head. So our total focus is there. And as we breathe in, we're breathing in energy. And as we breathe out, we let go. So breathe in again, and then gently say the word shoo, shoo, shoo. And imagine it becoming empty space in there. Empty but not empty. To be transparent, to be just pure energy, pure chi. And now focus on the neck, on your neck. Breathe in, shoo, shoo, shoo. Yes, it's starting to feel transparent too. And see it with your inner senses, with your inner eye. Just imagine, and then it becomes reality. Now breathe into your shoulders, your arms, your hands. And every time you breathe out, imagine it turning more and more into just energy. In fact, I've seen with me as a reality where my arms actually disappear. And I've seen it with others. Now, breathe into the middle dantian. And breathe out. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Breathe in again. Become transparent, empty. Beautiful. The lower dantian. Shoo, shoo, shoo. Now imagine your vertebrae, your back. Breathe into there. Shoo, shoo. And now the hips and the legs and your feet. Shoo, 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 shoo. And you could say this silently. Shoo. Now, imagine the whole body now. Turning into pure energy. Transforming into pure energy. Now, form a chi ball in front of your lower dantian, which is right in front of the belly button. And take a breath in. And as you breathe out, expand into the universe and open up that chi ball. You're opening up the lower dantian. Now bring it back in. As you breathe in, gather the energy into your body. And then expand out again. Breathe out. Let go. Let go. Let go. And bring in the energy. Breathe out. Then in. Now we're going to move up to the Hunyuan Palace, which is right between your heart and your belly button, right in the bottom of the sternum. It's right where the pancreas is. So let's breathe out and expand that. And bring in. And expand. And gather in the energy. Expand and breathe out. As you breathe in, gather the energy into the transparent inside of the body. Let's move up to the middle dantian. Expand. Breathe in. Expand out. And breathe in. Expand. And breathe in. Now let's move up to the upper dantian. Expand out. Gather in the energy. And expand. Out. Okay, now let's take that ball of energy, make it bigger, now bring it up above the head, way above your head, not in front of your head, way above, like that. And breathe in, and as you breathe out, lower your hands, facing their head, and bring the energy down into the body, where the universal energy is mixing with your inner chi energy. Hun, hua, hun, hua, hun, hua. There. Now bring your hands in front of the lower dantian. So when we do this practice, let's expand and contract. We need to work the most the most amount of the time on the lower dantian. Okay, let's put your hands, left hand for male, female, right hand first. Put our hands on top of the lower dantian, on duchi, which is the belly button. And just hold that there, focus there for a moment. And feel the energy circulating through the body. Imagine it circulating throughout your whole body. Now, to finish up this practice, we work on the nervous system of the body. So, Pablo, can you give me the other camera, please? Okay. What we do in this is called the caterpillar movement, because you're going to move like a caterpillar does, like that. But standing up, not lying down. Okay? So the thing is, put your feet shoulder width apart, and you go down a bit by bending your knees. Loosen your arms completely, and you're using the Ming Men Palace to guide you, okay? That is in the lower dantian, directly behind, at the back, behind your belly button, okay? So doing this sideways, where you're bringing it back and you're going down, and then you're pushing it forward as you come up. And you do this relatively slowly, but what you're doing is activating the energy in your nervous system main channel, which is running through your backbone. And you can go way, way back if you can. You don't have to, but going way back. Okay, come back to center now. And let's sit down again, so I can have the other camera back. Thank you. So that's one way to practice your Qigong. And I will explain it more in the next class. I'll go deeper into why we're doing each part. But you see, one of the things to point out is we have 3 dantians, which are like general energy centers of the body. The lower one, the middle one, and the upper one. And within them, there are palaces. But we also have this other center that's between the first and second dantian. Okay? So we're working on 4 energy points. And in the lower one, we're actually working on focusing on the Ming Men Palace. There's an acupuncture point on the back of your vertebrae, which is directly behind the belly button in the back. That's the Ming Men energy, the acupuncture point. But just in from that is the whole, what we call the inner Ming Men Palace. So that's one palace. Now move up to this Hunyuan Palace, which is right here. Yeah, right at the bottom of the sternum, in there. So that's our second palace. So we want to work on that. And then we have the middle dantian, and most people don't say there's a palace there, but some people call it the heart palace because that's the center of the middle dantian. So we have a third palace there. And then up here in the very center of the head, within the upper dantian, we have the Shengji Palace. Okay? So the importance of each one of these. Okay? The Mingmen Palace and the lower dantian. This Mingmen Palace is where we store the main energy for the physical body. And that's why I suggest when we do these centers, when we finish doing the 4 of them, we go back and work on the lower dantian and build it up even more, because that's going to give us the energy to be in this physical world. Now, this second one, the Hunyuan Palace, this is the one, the center that is connected to all the major organs in the body within the lower and middle dantian. So your heart, your lungs, your digestive system, the liver, and the spleen, they're considered to be 2 livers in Chinese medicine. And you have the pancreas, you have the kidneys. The pancreas is part of the digestive system. So when you work on that point, you're working on all the organs of the body, and these are the places where most of your emotions are stored, and the blockages of these emotions, the blockages of anger, of fear, of sadness, of jealousy, all those things. Then we talk about the heart center of the body, or the heart palace. In yoga, we have our 7 chakras, and it happens to be the 4th chakra, which is the center for all of them. So it's the connection between the physical world and the non-physical world, or the spiritual world. So that's an important point to be working on too, because this is how we create our balance, balancing our life. And then we talk about the Shengji Palace. This is our connection to the universe. This is our connection to who we are on a sacred spiritual level. This is our connection to the wisdom of the universe. This is our connection to infinite intelligence. The smartest, so-called smartest people in the world maybe smart on an IQ test, but are they the creators? Usually they go hand in hand, but after you get to this high level of intelligence, IQ of 160, how do you go further? You do Qigong and you connect with the universe, and then you have all the information, not just what's stored in your brain. You have the actual information of how to create your universe. So all these centers are very important. But the first thing you want to do is make sure that your physical energy is strong enough to do all that living in this life. And this is how you live a chi life, what I was talking about. And you do that by thinking chi everything. Everything is chi. When you look outside at that tree, it's actually chi energy that's condensed into a tree with specific information so that it became a tree. And start being aware of not just the energy that's in your body, but the energy that is around your body. Most of us have heard of the aura, the auric field. Well, we have an energy field around the body. And the healthier you are, the more powerful you are, and I don't mean muscle-wise, the more powerful you are, the more you're working in your power instead of in your primitive energy. The more you're working in your power, the more you expand your energy field, the larger your aura is. Sometimes some people walk in the room and it's like they take over the room. That's because they have this gigantic auric field, of power. So this is what I suggest to be working on. We can talk about it more next week, and we can practice it properly next week. Any questions? I know I've said a lot of things there. I'll put that down on something and put it up in Telegram. And if any of you here are not connected on Telegram, please do. Okay? All the messages that go out go onto Telegram. And guess what? Telegram is free. Absolutely free.
Можно вопрос? Скажите, а когда делать форму основную цигун? Вот это мы сделали по пробуждению, да? Я еще начинаю делать, как вы раньше говорили, цигун постели. Потом вот перейти от постели к основной форме или проделать все то, что вы сейчас рассказали.
Yes. So the question is, and when shall we do our level 1 form? So what she said she's doing qigong in the bed, just as you described before. And after that, should we do the form or should we do what you have just showed us right now? So
what I would do personally, I would do the three things and break that up. So you do it in bed, either when you go to sleep or when you get up, or both times, and where you're opening up the different dantians. And at one point of the day, I would take the time to do the first form I know not all of you know all of the first form yet, but I try to do the first form every day. Okay, sorry. Okay. And then I would take a time to do this because this is going to open up your consciousness. And if you want to combine it, I would do this or part of this and then do the first level form, because the first level form will be much more powerful when you've made the whole body transparent and when you've worked on the centers. Then I would do my first level form. Yeah. Does that answer for you? Doing any of it helps. Doing all of it really helps. And if you don't have time to do it all, you can one day do the form, the first level form, and the other day do this, and we can all find time to do it when we go to bed at night, in the bed, and when we wake up. Those are particularly powerful times. Okay. Thank you for your question, because your question helped everybody. Blessings. Do we have
Thank-
anything else here? Not yet? Okay. I had mentioned to Pablo, who's our technician and who's also a teacher and a master, if he would like to share something today, maybe about what we talked about or absolutely anything, because he is another gold mine for information of how to transform your life.
Thank you, Robert. Can you hear me? Well,
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, yes.
okay. Well, first, thank you for all your kind words, Robert, of the last class, also today. It's an honor to be here sharing with all of you this space that feels so cozy when we are all together. So also thank you for sharing this way of shaping daily practice. For me, is too helpful.
Thank you.
I feel that daily practice is not so much about doing more, but about creating space.
Mm-hmm.
Space in the body to let go of what was tense, a space in the mind to quiet down, an internal space for transformation to happen. Today, for me, it's very clear that when we practice consistently, even if it's just a little bit each day, it's like we are saying to the universe, hey, universe, there is room here. There's more space to let go of the old, to reorganize our lives, also to transform ourselves without forcing it. So today, I live with that intention to continue creating space every day with presence and, also with gentleness, being kind with myself, and also with what I can do every day. Today, 10 minutes, it's okay. That's better that nothing, you know, and also to trust that transformation that comes on its own when I have space available. So thank you, Robert, for sharing this class. Thank you for everyone.
Wow. Thank you. It's such great information. You do what you possibly can that day, you know, whether he says whether it's 10 minutes or even 5 minutes. And it does let the universe know. And when the universe sees you're working on something with intent, believe me, you're going to get the help. It's going to come in. It's going to come in whatever way it should, and at the right time. Yeah. So, this was a wonderful class, I think. I loved it. Yeah. It means a lot for me to be able to share with you, because I've seen so much magic and miracles, and I'm really here to remind you that there's a master within you that can do anything, that can be anything. Yes. And it doesn't matter how old you are, okay? It doesn't matter at all. As I said before, my first Qigong teacher's grandfather lived to 152, and his wife to 130. And with Qigong, the weird thing about really intensely practicing Qigong, age doesn't mean anything because you start getting younger. You actually get younger and younger. Okay? Yes. So the magic is there for all of you. Yeah. And it's all about happiness. And how do we get to happiness? How do we get there with everything that's going on? Gratitude. Gratitude is the open door to being the master of your life. Gratitude is the open door to manifesting what you came here to manifest. Gratitude is the open door to having the tools to accomplish your mission in life. And gratitude is the thing that, the decision point of, yes, I want to be happy. Okay? And it's all about being that personal master. So let's end with something. One of the pieces from the new symphony. Just imagine you're falling in love with yourself. Then you become the real master. Thank you. We love you. See you soon. Mm.